Hey guys, yeah, this is a bit of a reply to one of the new segments that Doug Walker, aka Nostalgia Critic, is doing on Channel Awesome, and that's called Dark Toons. And basically, what Dark Toons um, is it's basically like a commentary like segment where um, Doug is watching a cartoon which kind of has a dark premise to it or a dark tune to it, and he's commentating on certain moments in it. Like he's not watching, I mean, he's watching it fully, but he's watching, he's commentating like on certain moments and everything. Well, recently I think his third one that he did was on a cartoon that I'm actually a fan of. Actually, I grew up on this cartoon, obviously, like he did back in the 80s, although it came out in the early to mid 40s. And that is the Donald Duck short, Duck Pimples. And when I saw what he was reviewing, I saw he was actually going to commentate on this for Dark Toons. I was thinking, oh, cool, he's going to give his own perspective. Maybe we'll get his own, thoughts on certain moments and all that. And honestly, and yes, I am doing this uncut, unscripted, and on the fly. Honestly, I have to say that if you've not watched Dark Toons yet, on Channel Awesome on the YouTube page, I suggest you go and do so, because the way Doug commentates, sorry about that, on some of the cartoons he's talked about recently, it's very, despite how you might feel about the guy, it's very insightful. It is like, whoa, I didn't know about that. I didn't ever really consider that. And it just really makes you think. And it gives you a fresh take on what others think about when they see these cartoons, when they watch these animated shorts. So anyway, getting back on topic, Doug starts commentating / reviewing, giving his insight and his own perspective to Duck Pimples. And he gets to that one scene that obviously, if you watch my channel, I call it the WTF ? Scene. It's basically where Pauline, that's her name in Duck Pimples, she has another name outside of that, but it's basically the scene where Pauline, she's looking for her pearls, thinks she sees them in the back pocket of the detective, if you will, or the private eye, pulls them out only to notice they're pearl-like handcuffs. So basically handcuffs that have like a pearl-like lasso or rope or chain connecting them. So instead of being like, okay, that's not them, and just continuing her search, she tosses the handcuffs, the pearl braided or banded handcuffs. She tosses the pearl banded handcuffs aside, and like I said, instead of continuing her search elsewhere, she decides to go, as you probably know by watching Duck Pimples, she opens up the back of the trench coat that the detective private eye is wearing, and she crawls under it. She crawls completely under it to where you see like this vestige, this bulge, this imprint, these rounded out shapes that represent her body as she's climbing in, and then as she completely gets in there, it settles down to where you just see like two little bulges, like all of a sudden she just got swallowed up or something, and all you see is this like one bulge that represents her head and the other one that represents her body. But then as the detective is moving, those little bulges, if you call it, or vestiges or imprints, whatever you want to call them, they smooth out and act like, hey, she's not even there. And the only thing that represents her even being under the coat is when her legs are shown at the bottom, and that's about it. And basically, getting to the point here, we all know what happens next. You know, as the detective is interrogating Donald after he notices that the girl is gone and she's disappeared or been kidnapped or whatever, he starts interrogating and questioning Donald of where she is, where her whereabouts are, and all that. And while he's doing this, all of a sudden you see the hands, you see the woman's hand, you see Pauline's hands come up, and the first thing she does is like a magic trick. She does like a pull the rabbit out of the hat trick, where she takes the guy's top hat, or I wouldn't say fedora or something like some kind of cap that they used to have back in the day. She takes it off his head. You see all these cigars come down. She turns it around, puts her other hand in there, and pulls out a rabbit like saying, "Ta-da, see?" And then puts it back down. Or should I say puts the rabbit back in the hat, and then puts the hat back on the guy, and then her hands go back in, go back under the coat, and you think, oh, well, she did her thing there, she can now leave, right? Nope, she remains in there. The more you kind of see of her feet sticking out of the back, the more she stays in there. And it gets to a point that when the detective is like having his fill of Donald's, like, Donald's not giving him any straight answers, right? So he's like, okay, you don't want to talk? I'll make you talk. And he basically calls upon this guy, this Clark guy, that has these hot irons, or these hot pokers, whatever you want to call them. And when he does this, when he calls upon the guy by saying, Clark, the hot irons, you see the woman's hand come out of his back. I think it's her left hand or something like that. You see her left hand and arm come out of his back, and she's doing this kind of like a megaphone, kind of like to enhance his yell for Clark. And then she's imitating him saying with the finger thing like that. And Doug, and I know I'm taking long getting to the point here, so I do apologize, but Doug points out that the reason Pauline is doing all this, the reason she did the pull the rabbit out of the hat trick, the reason she's imitating the movements of calling for the Clark guy and the hot irons, the reason she's acting like that second pair of arms and hands, where she's scratching the detective's chin and she's placing the glasses on the guy's nose, is to make it more sillier because of the atmosphere. The atmosphere is more of the kind of like psychedelic, early to mid 40s, trippy, psychedelic like atmosphere, to where nothing really makes sense or nothing stays in focus. And basically that's what he's pointing out here when it comes to the lady, Pauline, doing what she's doing. It's not just, okay, she's hiding under the guy's coat and she's only acting like this second pair of arms and hands to kind of, not be noticed or not have the detective notice that something might be on his back or even under his coat or something like that. So, so basically from what Doug interprets is, it's not supposed to make sense. It's not supposed to make sense in any manner, even though technically some have said it does make sense for the fact that, as I mentioned, she's trying to kind of maybe distract the detective from noticing, okay, she's around, but she's kind of, she's around, but she's also closer than he thinks. In other words, what she's doing by acting like his second pair of arms and hands is basically, like I said, distracting him from what she's doing, from her looking for the pearls. So she's got to keep, she's got to basically keep his focus on his job while she does hers. If that makes sense or anything. And that's the other thing that Doug pointed out. It's not supposed to make sense. It's not supposed to be, sensible or make any logic, because it's so trippy. It's so, like I said, for the early to mid 40s, so psychedelic, to where a lot of things shift out of focus. And that's why Pauline does what she does. When she goes under the guy's coat and she does the pull the rabbit out of the hat trick. She starts imitating his movements with a finger and doing this, and then, like I said, scratching his chin and and putting the glasses on his face, on his nose, so he can read the card that he gets from Clark for the hot irons, or he takes from Clark, to read off the guy's name and what he's specializes in. So yeah, basically Doug points out that it's not supposed to make sense, even though people like me have tried to make it seem like it makes sense. It's actually played for laughs. And then all Pauline is doing here is, instead of focusing on trying to find her pearls on her own, she's just looking at this scene going like, you know what, I'm going to crawl up this guy's back and I'm going to make this scene even funnier. I'm going to act like his second pair of arms, or something like that. So yeah, Doug, like I said, Doug actually gives some insightful reasoning and acknowledgement and foresight and stuff like that into Doug Pimples, probably more so than I've ever been able to. And he does this for other ones as well. He does it with Pluto Goes to Hell, which was his first one, Tom Goes to Hell, which was the second one, and now Doug Pimples. And we can only imagine what he'll have in store for his fourth installment of Dark Toons. So it'll be really interesting what happens. He might even do a movie, who knows, for the next episode, we don't know. But yeah, I would say check out Dark Toons, the Dark Toons segment on the Channel Awesome YouTube channel. Check it out, and you might find it just as insightful as I do, because again, Doug is giving his own take on what a lot of us have already seen. And for me to hear him give his take on Doug Pimples and how certain moments and scenes are represented from his point of view, I thought was great, especially, like I said, with the whole Pauline moment, where she crawls under the guy's coat and starts imitating his movements, or acting like his second pair of arms and hands. So again, I highly recommend you guys check it out. I've got to get back into work now, but let me know what you all think about it. But again, I highly recommend you check out Dark Toons, and that's about it. Let me know what your thoughts are. How did you feel when you first saw that scene in Doug Pimples with Pauline doing the imitation of the guy's movements with the arms, acting like a second pair of arms or something like that? Let me know down below. Comment if you like. Again, check out Dark Toons on Channel Awesome. I know, again, people have the differences about Doug and all that, but if you put that all aside, he does give some great, insightful discussions on certain things, and Dark Toons, this new segment he's doing, is one of them. So again, check it out, and that's all I'm going to say, and I'll talk to you all later.